Hello and welcome to Silent Creativa. Today we will make our very own cameos. For this project you will need polymer clay, baking paper, sculpting tools, scissors, chalk pastels and acrylic paint, gloves, a breathing mask, a resin kit, a scale, molds, a plastic container where you can mix your resin in, popsicle sticks, glossy varnish, a strong glue, a cabochon frame, and rhinestones if you like. So, I don't want to fool you. I made the intro a little bit more serious than it was good, because this is my first attempt to make a YouTube video, and it is also my first attempt to do cameos. So, if you would like to see how I get from the idea of making some to the finished product you saw in the intro, then join me. Though my English might not be the best one, I will try to make it as good as I can. The first thing I did was to take a cameo I already had and trace the shape on a piece of paper to sculpt the cameo base on top of it. It was later when I went to the oven to bake it that I thought, okay, baking paper would be the right choice. So please use baking paper. Then I took a piece of scrap polymer clay that I had laying around, softened it, and tried to get the shape for the cameo base. I sculpted it right inside the cameo base to make sure that it will have the right size later. Once you are happy with the shape, make sure that it don't overlap the frame so that it will fit later. Because of the paper you put inside it, you can get it out fairly easily. And then correct the shape a last time, and you're done with the sculpting of the base. To make sure that the surface is pretty clean, I went over it with some acetone nail polish remover to clean it from dust and fingerprints. After it was cooled down, I removed the paper and sanded it down with some sanding paper to make it even more smooth. The next step for me was to make a mold out of it to use it for later projects, and for this video also. This I will show you in another video. I will skip that step for this time and show you how I made the mermaid in the next step. Then soften your polymer clay again, roll it into a small ball, just a little bit of it, place it on your base, and start shaping it into a face, which is pretty difficult, I have to say. Though I'm not so skilled with such a small scale, it was hard as, you know. So the next step was adding the neck and the body. And I can recommend take your time. I did it pretty fast because I thought, okay, don't make the video too long. And yes, I kind of like how the mermaid went, but I think if I would have taken more time, it could have been even better. To add the tail fin, I flattened out a piece of polymer clay, very thin, and then draped it a little bit, pushed it onto the base, and with my needle I just scraped it onto it a little bit that it will get a textured ending. For the tail, I shaped a piece of clay in like a pointed snake and pushed it onto the base and connected it with the body and with a fin at the end. And then to finish my little damsel in distress, I rolled out again some very thin snakes of polymer clay and placed them for the hair. For the next two cameos I made, I used the mold that I show you in another video, pushed the polymer clay inside it, took it out again, and just made some indents with a dotting tool. From time to time I made sure that they will fit inside the frame. So for this last one, I decided just to add a little moon and make some indents where I pushed the rhinestones in later. And again I sanded them down to fit exactly into the frame. So with the mermaid made, I decided to make another underwater themed cameo. Um, the indents I made earlier were meant to be bubbles, but they disappeared from the scene because I did too much. Now after I finished all the pieces, I think um, I shouldn't have made both corals at the bottom of the cameo because it takes all the attention away from the jellyfish I made later, and that is not so great, I think. If I would make this cameo again, I would just decide to get the jellyfish more, give the jellyfish more attention. If you like the way it turned out, I made the corals on the left side of it by rolling it again, thin snakes, and just pushed them down on the cameo and made a little indents on the top. The other one is not my favorite part, again, um, like a lot on this cameo, doesn't matter. I made them like the fin of the mermaid, but just dotted some points on the top of it because I thought it would look cooler with some more details, but in the end, I'm not that happy with it. Uh, then I made the head of the jellyfish by pushing a ball of polymer clay onto the cameo, and all the little, I don't know how to call them, tentacles? Not really. Um, just adding more polymer clay in little snakes. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's not my favorite part, so I skipped the details on how I did them. It. Sorry. After they were cooled down again, it was time for me to make the molds because I would like to make them out of resin. You can easily skip this when you just want to use them one time. Um, then you can color your polymer clay and gloss it, and then you are finished. Then you can glue them down inside the frames, and everything will be all right. Though I decided to make them out of resin, I mixed my resin according to package instructions, um, gave a little bit of colorant to it, and then just filled the pieces that I would like to be white. Um, yeah, and then they needed to dry for 24 hours, and this is it for the moment. Of course, they need a background. So I mixed resin again, and colored it with some chalk pastels later. And though I wanted every piece in another color, in another shade of blue, I first chopped off some of the lightest chalk pastels, mixed it, pour it into the mold with a mermaid, and then went darker and darker as I wanted to. So after this, again, it needs 24 hours to dry. If you have UV resin, it will harden faster, but I don't have any experience with it, so I don't know if you could use it with a UV lamp. You can try, or maybe if someone is experienced with it, can tell me if it works. Maybe I will try it someday, but I only worked with the normal resin till today. And of course, I popped the bubbles at the background with a lighter um, after I let it set for a moment. And after 24 hours, I unmolded them, and yes, this is how they turned out. Um, you can see the mold really gets the details that I made, and yeah, I'm quite pleased with the result. Um, except the jellyfish cameo, which I already mentioned, is too overloaded for my opinion. So I cleaned up the edges, that way they will fit well. And then I tried something I saw online, and I'm still not so sure what I think about it. You can cover your cameos with acrylic paint and then dab it off again. I think for the next time, if I would like to try it again, I would use some watered down acrylic paint, because it should sink into the crevices, and the rest should be removed easily, and it made everything a little bit too dark for my taste. But it is a try. If you like it, you can do it. Um, I tried very hard to remove it again, but I wasn't successful after all. For the moon, I glazed it with some glossy varnish, and then added some rhinestones and gave it a second coat of varnish to secure the rhinestones. And yeah, I think that turned out very well. I like this part, or I like this cameo. Um, Maybe it is because it is the most simple one of the three. Um, But yeah, this is the one I like the most. Um, the mermaid is nice, okay, but yeah, not the best thing I made. So the last step was just to glue them inside the frames, and then you are finished. Um, yes, so I hope you enjoyed my first attempt to make a YouTube video. If you like, do all the good stuff you can do on YouTube, like subscribe and all that. I would like to say thanks for watching and goodbye.